Sometimes stepping back is not weakness. Sometimes your absence teaches people what your presence has been costing you all along. There is a painful truth most people learn too late. When you are always available, always patient, always willing to carry what no one else wants to carry, people do not always love you more. Often, they simply get used to you. They call your constant giving kindness. They call your silence maturity. They call your endurance love. But little by little, something dangerous begins to happen. The more dependable you become, the less visible you are as a person. People stop seeing your heart. They start seeing your function. And one day, when you are tired enough to step back, you discover something that changes everything. Some people never respected your devotion. They only respected your availability. This is a story about self-respect, about a man in an old village who learned that sometimes the first real act of love toward yourself is not proving how much you can carry. It is stepping back far enough to see who notices your soul and who only notices the work you stop doing. His name was Elias. He lived in a weathered village of stone houses, narrow paths, clay roofs, and wooden doors swollen by rain and summer heat. He repaired hinges, carved shelves, mended gates, and restored tables that other people were ready to throw away. If something in the village cracked, jammed, sagged, or splintered, people brought it to Elias. They trusted his hands. They trusted his calm. They trusted the way he never made anyone feel like a burden. And because he was that kind of man, people did not come to him only with broken furniture. They came with broken plans, broken tempers, broken marriages, broken sons, broken hope. Elias had become the kind of person a whole village leaned on without ever saying so directly. From the outside, that looked like respect. For a long time, even he believed it was. If a widow's gate would not close before dark, Elias went. If two brothers were no longer speaking and needed someone steady between them, Elias listened. If a farmer's cart broke on market morning, Elias left his own breakfast untouched and hurried down the road with tools in his hand. He was the first person people thought of in trouble, and the last person anyone asked about when the trouble had passed. That was the pattern. People thanked him warmly. They praised him in public. They called him good, reliable, rare. But his own life was always waiting at the edge of the day. The shutters of his little house still dragged across the frame. The fence behind his garden leaned farther each season. A beautiful cedar chest he had once started carving for himself sat unfinished beneath a cloth, gathering dust in the corner of his workshop. Elias always meant to return to it, but each day, someone else's urgency arrived first. And this is how self-respect quietly erodes in many lives. Not because a person is hated, but because they become so useful that they begin treating their own needs as negotiable. One cold evening near the start of winter, the village came for him all at once. The baker needed a shelf repaired before dawn. A neighbor wanted help carrying his sick father inside. The miller sent word that a jammed door at the grain house had to be opened that very night. Elias went to all three. By the time he returned home, rain had pushed through the crack above his own window. Water dripped onto the floorboards beside his bed. He stood there in the dark, exhausted, looking at the small mess in his own house that no one had seen, because no one had needed to see it. The next morning, his body refused to keep obeying him. For the first time in years, Elias did not open the workshop. He stayed home for 3 days with fever in his bones and heaviness in his chest. At first, he thought people would come asking how he was. Some did come, But what they mostly brought with them was inconvenience. What are we supposed to do about the West Gate now? I told my cousin you would fix the bench today. The mill can't keep waiting. When will you be back on your feet? Not one of those questions was cruel on its own. That was what made the truth so sharp. They did not sound like people missing Elias. They sounded like people missing access to what he did for them. Lying awake on the third night, listening to wind push at his loose shutters, Elias felt a realization settle inside him with unbearable clarity. He had mistaken being depended on for being deeply valued, and those are not the same thing. That afternoon, when the fever finally loosened, Elias climbed a quiet hill outside the village, where an old shepherd sat beside a narrow well, repairing a frayed rope. "So," the old man said, "you finally stepped back?" Elias asked, "And is it selfish to stop giving when people have grown used to receiving?" The shepherd pointed to the well. "People praise a well only while it gives water. If the bucket rises full every day, they stop arriving with gratitude. They arrive with habit, and habit is where respect begins to die. Your mistake was not kindness, Elias. Your mistake was making your kindness feel endless. When something feels endless, people stop treating it as sacred. Stepping back is not the lesson. It reveals the lesson. It shows people whether they loved you or only relied on your constant availability. And it shows you whether you were giving from love or from fear that no one would value you if you stopped." When Elias returned to the village, he did not become colder. He became clearer. He reopened his workshop, but not before sunrise and not after dark. He helped, but not at the cost of abandoning his own roof, his own meals, his own unfinished life. Some were surprised, some were offended, a few disappeared, but others changed. They knocked instead of pounding. They asked instead of assuming. They waited. They paid fairly. They thanked him differently. And in the evenings, Elias finally uncovered the cedar chest in the corner of his shop. He sanded the wood. He shaped the lid. He finished what he had once begun for himself. Sometimes stepping back is not punishment. It is perspective. Sometimes your absence teaches people what your presence has been carrying in silence. And sometimes it teaches you something harder. That usefulness is not the price of love. If this story felt familiar, write in the comments where in your life you need to reclaim your space, your time, or your self-respect. And if you want more quiet stories about boundaries, healing, and the courage to choose yourself, stay with Wisdom Tales. Some stories do not just comfort you, they change the way you live.